callers, can I have you mute yourself, please? Someone is talking in the background. Sorry.
So, sorry about that. I know it takes a while with little technology when it's not your normal computer you're using, but I thought I'd go ahead and start with current active inventory in regards to what's going on in our marketplace. So as you can see up on the screen here, and the Zoomers should be able to see it as well, Lodi currently has 109 active single families available for sale. That's right here, live as of this morning. I pulled this information this morning, and where we've been for the last 12 weeks is a difference of about 8 units, right, or 7%. Our pending sitting at 44 versus 55, right? So we're off 20% on our pendings. I'm going to blow through these a little bit quick because of the fact that I don't want to be talking here for a half hour. I want to talk here for 10 minutes, right? Because I did something different. So that's the 12-week average for all of those areas. And here's the year-over-year numbers. But what I did differently is I bar charted it for you. So at the end of this presentation, I'm going to flash up my email address. More than happy to send a copy of this to all of you. And here's what all that looks like as a bar chart. So on the left is the 12-week average, and on the right is the year-over-year numbers. And as you can clearly see, inventory is contracting across the board for all areas when you look at the 12-week average, right? But if you go 12 weeks ago, it wasn't even Thanksgiving yet, right? So it's normal for this time of year to decline in regards to inventory. Lodi's off 7%, Stockton 13%, the entire county off 12%, and Stanislaus off 11%. Now, comparison to year over year for this particular week, you see that Lodi is up 35% in inventory, and that sounds like a really big number, right? But if you look at the bar chart, unit-wise, it's not that big of a number, right? So when you look at that, Stockton's up 3%, county is up 10%. So that's a snapshot year over year for actives. When we look at pendings and do the exact same thing, pendings are down. Again, normal for this time of year. You can even see pending sales are down roughly 18 to 23% in just 12 weeks. That tells us that buyers are still active, but they're more selective, which makes pricing and presentation matter more than ever, right? When you're looking at where we're at for our pendings for the last 12 weeks. So when you look at year over year, Lodi has an increase year over year of 10% in regards to our pendings, whereas the other areas are down slightly. Stockton down 15 on the year over year, 23 on the 12-week average. San Joaquin County down, as a county as a whole, down 7% year over year. I don't have Stanislaus year over year. I will the next time I present, because I started collecting Stanislaus County data from February on. As the advertisement said, I know that Ryan had put it together a nice slide, put it on social as well, that I have elevator pitches. I'm not going to read all 5 of these, but it just takes that data. Yes, I used AI. One of the things, if Christine and I went out and had a drink and someone said, hey, what do you do for a living? I'm in real estate. How's the market's the very next question. This helps identify this, right? Rather than just saying, it's unbelievable, right? Which tells them nothing. Right? It could be unbelievable good, unbelievable bad. I'm sure you guys have all heard that before. But here are some great elevator speeches that you can use. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll just do number 4 just to kind of give you guys a comparison for the people who can't read it further back in the room. The market by market story. Lodi actually has more demand year over year, while Stockton and San Joaquin are softer. This isn't a one-size-fits-all market anymore. Every submarket has its own strategy, right? Now that sounds a lot more educated than the it's good, it's great, it's slow, it's fast, it's unbelievable, right? It's a little bit more educated of a speech. Use this when clients quote national headlines to compare the difference between the cities, right? So it even gives you some help notes with that too on these elevator pitches. Moving along into our sales. Sorry, it looks like I have that in the wrong order. San Joaquin County as a county for the quarter, and I do this quarterly on purpose because when we get to Lodi, our numbers are small on a monthly basis and can be construed a little bit. When we look at October through December, we had 1,327 sales. for the entire county. In comparison to last year, we're up 3% on units, right? So we had 40 more sales in fourth quarter of 25 versus 24. So we are selling more homes this year for last year. And we're selling them for about the same price. Obviously, we're off by $6,391. Not much to write home about, right? It's flat market in regards to appreciation. Our average days on market, they did increase by 25% or 13 days. In comparison to Stanislaus County, they had 891 sales. They had 864 the prior year. So singing the same tune, up 3%, exactly the same percentage, so 27%. So those two counties, we're looking at sales, units, up, right? When we look at prices, they were actually up 1%. Again, flat, nothing to really write home about. Up $4,000. You're not going to make a lot of money, but over time, you will. Before I get into hyper-local, the big brains, the people with PhDs in economics, right? The head of Fannie Mae, Lawrence Yun from National Association of Realtors, and Mortgage Bankers Association, they all predict that for sales, we're going to be up about somewhere between 10 to 15% in units. For price point, for appreciation, they think that we're going to be somewhere between 3 to 5%, depending on who you ask, right? They say this is for resale. Speaking of Lawrence Yun, he says that we'll have a 5% bump in units on brand new homes. So more on resale than on brand new homes as far as unit count. So the future looks pretty darn bright. When we look at going a little bit more local, starting off with Stockton, Stockton had 533 sales with an average sold price of $453, getting 1% below asking in 47 days on market versus 36 days on market the year prior. And obviously the price point off slightly, just like we saw the county was off 3% or 13,000. In regards to that, the units were off 35 units or 7%. Going back to where are we at for inventory if you're doing something in Stockton versus Lodi versus Tracy, Manteca, somewhere else in the county, right? When we look at Lodi, we had 153 sales. Last year we had 131. So again, sharing in that pace for Lodi of being very high because we're up 14% year over year on units. So we are selling more homes in Lodi than we did the prior year. Obviously on price point, we're off by 2% in regards to that. Our days on market, no big surprise there, are a lot higher at 28, right, in regards to that. Now, when we shift gears a little bit, we talk about mortgage rates. You may have heard that mortgage rates have gotten a little bit lower. That's why all these people with PhD in economics think that home prices are going to rise, units are going to rise. We're already seeing a unit rise here in Lodi, and that's because mortgage rates have dropped. Now, this slide I'm showing you obviously isn't the rates of where I work because this would be a commercial then, and we don't do commercials here. We give you market data. This is the Freddie Mac rate survey. It comes out every single Thursday. Right? So it's standard across the entire United States. It's also what consumers consume, right? So if they go on social or they listen to a financial news channel, they're going to hear narratives from their PhD in economics at Fannie or Freddie or the FHFA, right? And as you can see, for the first full week of the new year, mortgage rates remain within a narrow range, hovering close to the 6% mark. Combination of solid economic growth and lower rates have led to improving momentum for sale residential demand, with purchase applications up 20% over the last year, right? So people are applying for home loans. So what's happened since last Thursday to now? You may or may not have heard that Trump had said, hey, we want to make interest rates lower, right? He's been talking about that with the Fed as well, right? So what did they actually do about it? This actually happened late in the market on Thursday. And what he wanted to do is that Fannie and Freddie are under conservatorship from the U.S. government when they failed back in 2008. They're still under conservatorship. But you know what? They're making money. They're making a lot of money. So the government with previous administrations, not to be political at all whatsoever, enjoyed that, right? Because we all know we had a government shutdown for over 40 days, right? We're out of money. We need to make money. So these GSEs, or government-sponsored entities, what GSE stands for, they are making money. So Trump's doing something a little bit different. He says, hey, take that extra money and artificially lower rates. Now, how do you do that? Well, how are rates derived? They're bought and sold every day on the stock market, right? They buy and sell them. So they took their profits and they actually bought some mortgage-backed securities, right? You don't hear about that as much because you can't turn on CNBC and say, hey, what are mortgage-backed securities doing today? You need to subscribe to a service to know that. So a lot of lenders in the room subscribe to the same service that I do as well, and you can get that data. On Friday, we saw a great jump in rates getting lower. It has a reverse effect to interest rates, so I motioned up, right, because the yield went down, or the actual interest rate went down because people were buying more. And the reason why is the GSEs themselves were actually buying them. Why does the administration want that to do that? Well, better affordability, more purchasing power, and improved timing conversions with hesitant buyers, right? We're going into midterm elections in November, so the posture for real estate is to make it more affordable. One way to do that is to lower interest rates. That's also why all the economic brains are saying we're going to have a bump in regards to appreciation and units sold, right? So you need to be able to concisely say this to clients. So hopefully some of these things will let you know what's going on and why rates shifted a little bit. Now, we sold off a little bit, so some of those gains were a little bit short-lived. Friday was probably the best day to lock a loan in the last year and a half. We've seen it kind of go away a little bit, but we're still doing some really great interest rates right now. So if you've got somebody who got pre-qualified, say in December, it might be time to refresh the numbers. If rates went down 0.25%, depending upon their qualifications, they may qualify for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more in purchase price, right? We all know that the busiest buying season is from Super Bowl Sunday through Mother's Day. Historically, you go back 10, 20, 30, 40 years in regards to that information. And it's true, right? Most of it is because you're looking at a national number and there's that white stuff on the ground, so you can't see the yard. They call it snow, right? I'm doing a loan in Illinois right now, and the appraisal came back, and I'm like, I've always thought about this, but now I'm actually seeing it on the photos and the comp photos. So it's kind of funny to actually see that. One of the other things that they want to do is they want to make sure that, and this one is kind of more of a mouthpiece than anything else, but it is a hot subject that people are talking about, that current administration wants to make it so that mega and large investors cannot buy up single-family homes. Everybody goes, yeah, that's a good thing, right? So you want to rent a home and there's none available for rent because nobody's buying them, right? But let's put some facts into place to start off with. When you look at all of the sales, we're going to be getting later this week, National Lawrence Young and his team will have the December pending home sales report will be coming out. I believe it's either today or Thursday that comes out. But the one for November shows that 30% of all sales were to investors, right? So, and it also shows that what percentage of first-time buyers are, and what percentage are distressed sales, like short sales and foreclosures, which make up only 2% of the marketplace. So 30% of the marketplace is to investors, right? So let's define who the people all the way at the bottom, the orange and the blue lines all the way at the bottom, right? So let's start with the blue. A mega investor is a corporation or an entity that owns more than 1,000 homes. Their current market share of all of the homes in the United States, not talking about who bought homes in 2025, just what their current inventory of what they own, only makes up 2.5% of the entire homes that are single families in the entire United States. So even if you got Congress to pass a law that says that you can't buy a single family home as a mega investor anymore, it's not going to change the marketplace. They only own 2.5%. That's not that they bought 2.5% of the marketplace last year. That's what they currently own. So that could be from 08 to now, right? That could have been in the last 20 years. So it's really just a mouthpiece statement. So let's go to the next category, the large investors. They make up people who own homes from 100 to 1,000. Their market share is 2.9%. Now, can we just agree that that's a little bit more than 5% of the total marketplace? So we would say 95% of the investment marketplace are small to medium investors who really don't have that much of an impact. So, oh my gosh, don't want to mention any names, but those big black evil companies, maybe a little bit hint there, are buying up all the rental properties. No, they're not. They're 2.5% to 2.9%. So it's all about education. It's all about getting information to the public when they ask, how's the market? Hey, what's about this? What are they doing about interest rates? What's the Fed doing? So hopefully I've given you some great answers, some great things that you can put on social to make reels with. If you want to copy this, now is when you get out your cell phone and you either scan that QR code or take a picture of that slide. I'll be more than happy to email you a copy of the entire slide deck. And if you need to, more than happy to create some of those reels on social, or at least help you out with some scripts. So hopefully that was great information. I'll turn the meeting back over to you or Ryan.
Yep. Ryan's up.
Ryan's
Okay,
up.
thank you
So
so much.
you're welcome. Hopefully you found that information good.